allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Councilor Janik. Present. Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Councilor Milbourne. Councilors Burke, DeMederos, and Perry are absent.
So everybody knows the town council president and vice president are not in attendance. And I've been asked to stand in as the president tonight. First order of business is presentation of citation of firefighter Wendy Clark.
Councilor Edwards, I believe the understanding is that we have to have a vote for pro tem because the council policy, which by the way I think we're operating under error because this council never voted on it, references a quote-unquote senior member for which there is no definition. So by Robert's rules, we really should have a vote for who's going to serve as council chair pro tem.
Mr. Edwards, excuse me, the town council governance policies are dated, amended January 11, 2021. In the absence of any new policies being adopted by this council, these, in my opinion, would govern. As to conduct of meetings, Section 3A, presiding officer, it states the president or in the president's absence or designation, the vice president shall preside at all meetings. In the event of the absence of both, now I'm paraphrasing, the town council with the senior member in point of service presiding shall elect another member to perform the duties of the president during the absence or disability of both president and vice president. So, did Council President DeMederos designate you as the president for this evening's meeting? I'm sorry, Joe.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think Councilor Janik can verify that.
She asked me to pass it to Jay.
Okay.
With all due respect, I spoke with Council President DeMederos and she told me otherwise this afternoon.
I don't know what to tell you. So what do we do now?
I think that in that situation then, that the senior member in point of service, who I understand is either Jay Edwards or Deb Janik, you have the same amount of service, correct? So then I guess the tiebreaker would be who had the highest vote at the last election between the two of you would then serve as the person to run an election amongst the sitting members as to who will preside this evening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So if one of you knows who the highest vote getter was, or if you don't care,
It's not something I keep track of.
I don't remember.
Do you care?
honestly. No.
No.
which of the two of you wants to run the election to decide who will preside this evening?
He does.
Okay. It's a lot of work, Jay. I know.
Oh, second. So I guess the procedure now is I'm going to ask for nominations to be the chairman of this meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a nomination?
I will nominate Jay Edwards because Jay sat on the agenda meeting, so he was there for the planning of this meeting.
I'm going to nominate myself as the highest vote getter in the last election. I think the will of the people was that I should be sitting in that seat.
Okay, we have Jay Edwards and Jay Edwards the fifth, or John Edwards the fifth, nominated. Do we have a second for John Edwards the fifth?
I don't think you need a second for nomination.
So what do we do?
Any other nominations?
Oh, any other nominations?
Okay, take a vote.
Take a vote, show of hands.
That's good enough with me.
Show of hands, those in favor of John Edwards the fifth? Those in favor of Jay Edwards?
We're going to do this all night long
Really? Does it matter, guys? Really?
until someone decides, so. I vote, you have to vote again, I guess.
Is there any point in voting again?
You can ask for other nominations.
Okay, we'll do it again. All those in favor of John Edwards V, show of hands.
Nomination? Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
No, this is a vote, right?
Okay, a vote.
So John Edwards V, show of hands.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Go for
that
it.
carries. John Edwards V will run the meeting.
No, it's 2-1.
Next item on the agenda is the presentation of this.
Perfect.
Chief,
Do you want me to read the whole thing? Do you want me to read the whole thing?
it's very short.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, I mean, it's one of the chief's employees, so we might as well. So the next item on our agenda is the presentation of a citation to firefighter Wendy Clark from the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos. And I'm going to defer to the chief because why not?
Thank you. So, Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos sends regrets tonight. She wanted to attend, but she had other commitments. So on behalf of her and the state of Rhode Island, she wants to sincerely thank you for breaking this glass ceiling. Your incredible accomplishment serves as an inspiration to women across Rhode Island. I wish you the utmost success in your career in becoming Tiverton's first female firefighter. Congratulations.
All right, consent agenda. Item A, approval of town council meeting minutes, July 24th, regular meeting, Councilor Milbourne abstains, absent. July 24th, executive session, Councilor Milbourne abstains, absent. Acknowledge receipt of minutes from boards, commissions, and committees. Planning Board 1, Open Space Commission 2, Historical Cemeteries Commission 2. Acknowledge receipt of town reports, Town Administrator Department monthly reports, July 2023. Town Administrator, Police Department overtime reports, July 2023. Fire Department overtime reports, June and July 2023. Acknowledge receipt of correspondence, Town of Charleston resolution regarding possible designation of the Sand Trail as a CRMC recognized right-of-way. Town of Westerly resolution opposing Senate Bill 2023-0137 and House Bill 2023-H5201. Advisory opinion number 2023-27 from Rhode Island Ethics Commission, and HUD letter of notification for Tiverton Housing Authority regarding public housing assessment. Does any of the councilors like to pull any of these items off the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, 4D and 4D3 and 4D4.
4D3 and 4D4. Councilor Janik?
I was going to say 4D4.
Perfect. Anybody else? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
So moved.
All right. Seconded by Councilor Edwards. All those in favor? All right, Councilor Edwards.
So just to let the world know what the Rhode Island Ethics Commission tells us, basically says that our municipal court judge can in fact rule on charter challenges within the town of Tiverton. Pretty much the gist of it.
Okay, 4D4.
Okay, 4D4 is a letter we got from HUD about the score that was given our housing authority. I don't understand the document. I had a talk with the town administrator. He doesn't really understand it either. So I want to make the recommendation that we move to request that Mrs. Brutzman, who's the executive director of the housing authority, and Bobby Harris, who's the chairman, the chairperson, come before the council to explain to us what all this means and if there are any ramifications to the town financially or otherwise. In other words, make us understand what this thing is telling us.
Councilor Janik?
Because this was not the first time we failed, apparently. and I'm not aware of what happened last time, but they're looking for a recovery plan within 30 days of receipt of this letter. So, I was confused too as to what this all meant and what we have to do, and if there are fines or penalties.
So my only suggestion is, I agree that the director of the elderly housing should come before the council, but a designee of the board, because I don't know how Bobby's doing as far as health-wise. I know that was one of the reasons that he resigned from one of our boards. So I would ask, don't ask specifically for Bobby, or ask for the chair or any designee that can relate back to the board. This letter gave me pause. It was addressed to me as well. It's been some financial failures since 2012, so I assume that the council had dealt with this in the past. Apparently it hasn't, so I agree. I don't know what the ramifications are either. Once that the council designates the board members, we really haven't had any other oversight, at least since I've been the administrator. So I don't know what I think somebody should come and at least explain it, because if there are financial issues, the town council should be well aware of it.
Perfect. So if there's no other questions from the council, given that this is the consent agenda, perhaps we could just ask the administrator. We don't think we need a vote.
Okay.
I don't think we can do a vote, but have.
I'll send a request that somebody, that they
Thank you.
come.
Do we have a motion to approve 4D3 and 4D4?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Wonderful. Public comments regarding any council agenda items. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up?
None.
Wonderful. All right, so moving on to appointments and resignations. For the planning board, we have a 9-member board, 3-year terms, 4 vacancies, term expiring 7/15/2024. There's one of those, and then a term expiring 7/15/2026. There's 3 of those, and we do have 2 applicants, William Gerlach of 506 King Road and Dick Taylor of 309 Holly Circle. I believe this is the first time they've come in front of us, so is Mr. Gerlach present? Perfect.
Good evening.
Welcome, Mr. Gerlach.
Thank you.
So if you just want to give us a quick overview here, while you're applying to the board.
Sure.
It'd be a great place to start.
Yep, so my name is William Gerlach. I live at 506 King Road. Given my past involvement with the town, I have a good familiarity with the planning board, having served on the council a decade ago. I was also part of the comp plan advisory committee that helped produce the latest version of the comp plan, so have a fair amount of familiarity there. My kids are older. I have the time, and the board deserves to be as full as possible, given all of the critical work before the town. So I thought I would throw my hat in the ring.
Perfect. Any questions from the council?
Just comments. 10 years?
It was 10 years.
I would've
Yeah,
said a
have
couple of
2
years
kids in
ago.
college now, so.
Wow.
They grow fast.
As you know, the planning board has so much on their plate right now, and we really value good applicants like yourself with your experience and just your knowledge of the town. So I think that I was so excited to see your name come forth. It's a crazy committee right now. There's so much going on in town, and there's so much being asked of them. So great to put good minds together so that we can try to work through all of these different proposals.
Sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I hope to be able to help further the critical thinking and analysis of the work that comes before the planning board. I have a lot of experience there and just want to keep giving back to the town.
Any other comments or questions?
I'll just reiterate what Deb Janik has said. I'm familiar with Mr. Gerlach from paying attention to what he has done over the past many years. He's also got some concerns that are near and dear to my heart. So he's experienced, he's concerned, and that's what we need at this particular time on the planning board.
Thank you.
Perfect. Councilor Milbourne, any questions? Wonderful. Before we move on, Mr. Gerlach, I just want to say, obviously, you and I have interacted in the past. I think you do a great job. I've received numerous phone calls supporting your appointment to the board, and one of the big call-outs was that you're a fantastic researcher, so I think that would be exceptionally helpful to the planning board.
Thank you.
So I think probably the next best item would be to move on, interview the next candidate, and then we can address appointments. Thank you, Mr. Gerlach.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Taylor.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Sa-
Dick
Same line
Taylor,
as before.
309 Holly Circle. I think I've got a background for this. For the last 42 years, I've been involved in the town, with the exception of the last couple of years. After I started out in '81 as chairman of the Conservation Commission for about 8 years. And during that time, I acted as the environmental advocate for the planning board. Will Eccles, who was the building official at the time, he'd pick me up every Saturday morning. We walked every piece of property that made it to the agenda, upcoming agendas. And so I did both with the wetlands and with the planning board jobs. Pretty familiar with the town and the things that are going on. Like Mr. Gerlach, I was on the committee for the comprehensive community plan, the first one, and then the subsequent rewriting of the zoning in order to support that. So both of those documents I was pretty much familiar with. And even when I wasn't on the planning board, I attended all the state planning workshops that they had. Things, how to write better decisions, and a lot of those planning things. And then I was on the zoning board for 7 or 8 years, and had done that. I was on the original charter commission that wrote the charter.
That's what I thought, I remember that.
Yeah, and then I was on the 5-year review of the charter. I drafted the soil erosion sedimentation control ordinance, the wastewater ordinance, the recycling ordinance, and a number of other documents. And I had help on all of them. I'm not saying I did all of that myself, but so a few years ago, I was for 10 years I was the head judge for kids robotics in the state of Rhode Island, and so for kids 6 to 16, and so between the local tournaments and the world tournaments in Detroit and St. Louis, Houston, and University of Arkansas, I just run out of time while working a full-time job and trying to do that. So, I raised my 3 daughters here. We missed the target a little bit. I spent 30 years in the Navy riding submarines. And one of the objectives was, once the kids reached high school, to settle down someplace and not move every 2 years. And so my oldest daughter finished her last 2 years here, but we missed that a little bit. But interested in the town. I'm a firm believer that you know, if you're going to be part of the town, then you certainly need to do some civic duty and support that, and that we all get involved. So.
Thank you.
Got 3 kids, 7 grandkids, and 6 great-grandkids scattered around. 5 of those grandkids during the pandemic. And so some people read.
Wonderful. Well, any comments or questions for Mr. Taylor?
I'm so delighted that you're returning back after your little hiatus, but the broad history that you have of our town and of the different commissions and how everything works together will be very valuable with the planning board. As you are well aware, We have a lot of people want to come into town, lots of different projects, and they really need to be managed, and we need a great planning board. And we have a great planning board, but we do have some vacancies, so we want to have as many good minds as possible on that board to work well. So thank you for putting your name in.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Just comment, well, we're both maybe retirees. We've lived in town the same length of time. However, my minuscule service is far outweighed by yours, let me tell you. And we need people with your level of expertise and familiarity with this stuff, serving the town and serving the planning board. And I think we'd be more than fortunate to have you.
Well, thank you. But I'm old, and I can't guarantee I retained all that.
As long as you get a portion of it.
It's gonna take some.
Any comments or questions, Councilor Milbourne?
I'm fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, I'd just like to say, thank you
you.
very much for, putting your name forward, and obviously this is a need, so appreciate you coming forward.
Thank you.
Now, if it please the council, I'd like to entertain a motion to waive council policy. So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, so we'll be appointing this evening. Quick question for the attorney. Are we appointing in reverse or in forward as far as the expiration? Up to us? Okay, perfect. So then again, if it please the council, do we have any motions? Councilor Edwards?
I move that we appoint William P. Gerlach, 506 King Road, and Richard Dick Taylor, 309 Holly Circle, both to terms expiring 7/15/2026.
Do I have a second? Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And congratulations, or, I'm sorry.
And you'll be right on time for the next meeting. It's
Wonderful.
coming up soon.
All right, so Board of Licensing, Om Shiva, DBA Smoke Junction, 58 Main Road, requests approval of a tobacco and holiday licenses subject to meeting all legal requirements. The applicant's here? Yeah, perfect. All right. Thank you.
Board. My name is Jagdish Patel. I'm the new owner for Om Shiva Smoke Junction.
Perfect. Any questions from the council?
No, I think everything was in order, right? We had-
Perfect. Madam Clerk, everything's in order? All right, wonderful. This may be the easiest thing ever. All right, do we have any motions?
Is there an hours of operation?
I'm sorry?
Is there an hours of operation?
Is that not stipulated in the packet?
I don't know. I'm asking.
I'm looking.
We don't require it on
You don't?
Yeah.
Okay.
tobacco, it's on the alcohol.
I believe that state law would govern, right? Okay.
But we have approval by police and fire. And that's what we need, right? So,
I mean, it's a license transfer, correct?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
license.
Perfect. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion then on the license for Om Shiva DBA Smoke Junction.
I will make a motion to approve the tobacco and holiday license, subject to meeting all legal requirements of Om Shiva, doing business as Smoke Junction, 58 Main Road, Tiverton.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, congratulations.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
All right, next item is Renee A. Cafarella / CAFS LLC, 90 Main Road, requests approval of a victualling license, subject to meeting all legal requirements. All right, any questions from the council? Any
You brought
comments?
us samples, right?
Not yet.
When do you think that you will be opening?
Well, we're getting the equipment in now, so hopefully within the month, we'll say.
Great.
That'll be the plan.
Just in time for winter.
I was going to say.
It would be nice if it were May right now, but
No, we have Indian summer, and
Yeah.
it'll
We
be
will.
good.
make it for Labor Day.
Madam Clerk, any issues on your end? No, perfect, okay. Any other questions from the council? Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve victualling license for Renee A. Cafarella Caps LLC, 90 Main Road, subject to meeting all legal requirements.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, perfect. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let us know when the ribbon cutting happens.
That will be down there to cut that one.
All right, Vyana Incorporated, DBA Tiverton Liquors, 65 Main Road, requests approval of a fireworks license, subject to meeting all legal requirements. Welcome.
Good evening.
All right, any questions from the council or any comments from the clerk? This is a license transfer, correct?
It's a new license.
New license.
New license, never had one before.
For fireworks, no.
You're fully aware that the fireworks you sell cannot be launched, thrown,
It has to be on the ground.
and to stay on the ground.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions from the council? All right.
Fire
Perfect.
department's all happy with this?
Yeah, the fire department was, because that was my biggest concern, but they were fine. Lieutenant Dan did sign off on it.
Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan.
All right, if no other questions, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the approval of the fireworks license subject to meeting all legal requirements for Vyana Incorporated doing business as Tiverton Liquors at 65 Main Road.
Good second?
Second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, congratulations.
Thank you, Board.
All right, next up is Alison Murphy / Green Kids Consignment LLC. Requests approval of a special event permit for children's consignment sale at Longplex Sports Complex on September 28th, 2023 from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., September 29th, 2023 from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., and September 30th, 2023 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and October 1st, 2023 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., subject to meeting all legal requirements. Thank you very much for showing up. Any comments or questions from the council? Councilor Edwards.
I don't have any problems with this because the zoning board previously approved this kind of activity, so.
Any further questions?
No, and the police and fire have signed off also. You've done this multiple times.
Yes.
So,
Questions, Councilor Milbourne? Wonderful. Madam Clerk, anything we need to note? All right. With that, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve special event permit for children's consignment sale at Longplex Sports Complex on September 28th, 2023 from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., September 29th from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., and September 30th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and October 1st from 9 to 12, subject to meeting all legal requirements for Alison Murphy / Green Kids Consignment LLC.
We have a second. Second?
Mr. President, may I
Yes.
make one suggestion to that motion? That it be without prejudice because this is one of the events that is being appealed to the Superior Court, or in Superior Court right now. And I don't want this body to be bound in the future. For
Makes
example,
sense. So,
Do you understand
So I
what I'm
can just,
suggesting?
I can
Without-
just
you
add
can amend that, your own
Amend it.
motion, yes.
to without prejudice.
All right, perfect. You're acceptable with the
I
second?
already did. Oh, second it again.
Okay. All right, so, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, congratulations. Hopefully the event is a success.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is Jim Long, Longplex LLC, 300 Industrial Way, requests approval of a special event permit for indoor car show on October 8th, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., subject to meeting all legal requirements. Do we have any questions from the council?
I don't have a question, I have a comment.
By all means, Counselor.
Maybe we should let them do their spiel first, or?
I mean, it's all in the packet, right? Unless you'd like to hear a presentation.
No, I just suggest that we table this pending the ruling from, we have a court case with this. We're waiting on a ruling. The previous car events that they had were sought by others, not by Mr. Long. I just think we need to wait until we get a legal opinion.
Fair comment. Mr. Romano, do we have any issues if we approve a license for this event, given the fact that there is a pending lawsuit?
So unlike the Be Green Kids Consignment, this is a different event that was not before the planning or zoning board previously. By explanation, the zoning board previously overturned Mr. Hoyle's cease and desist orders for 4 events, one of those being the Be Green Kids Consignment sale. This is completely different, hasn't been reviewed by the zoning board. It is not part of the Superior Court appeal. I could say more about what I think the zoning would or would not permit, but that's not my point right now.
Yeah, best not to speak on behalf of a quasi-board. Perhaps it would be advantageous for the applicant to give us a quick synopsis then.
Can I just say one thing? And it also has not been approved by police and fire.
No.
Thank you, Mr. President. Daniel Riley, counsel for Longplex, and Mr. Long's here with me to answer any questions as well. The reason this is not subject, to the extent that the zoning matter is relevant here, the reason that this is not a part of that case is because this event has happened once before and the council approved a special event permit. That was last spring. So this event has come through before. It's been reviewed by police and fire before, and it went off without issue. The event is straightforward and a model of last year's for the vehicles inside the facility, not outside the facility. I know that was part of the concern the council had during last year's application hearing for this event. It is subject to police and fire approval, and we have been working with the fire marshal. He did request a meeting with the chiefs and himself and us on this application. With summer scheduling between all parties, it's been difficult logistically to pull that off, but we understand that meeting would have to happen and we would need their approval in order for the event to go forward. So we're asking tonight that the council approve subject to their approval. It's our expectation that the fire department will impose conditions on this event consistent with last year's, to include a detail firefighter. One change from last year is due to a ruling of the Fire Code Safety Board of Appeals. We will have to shut down the mezzanine level, which would mean that the mezzanine level for tenants as well as the gym would have to be shut down during this event. We would expect that to be a condition of the fire department and fully expect to comply with that as well. That will also mean that the number of patrons in the facility would be lower this year than last year because the gym will be closed, and we have no other planned sporting events for the 5-hour window in which the car show would be happening, which we feel would also address the parking concerns which have been raised by the council in the past. Be more than happy to address any specific questions, but again, I would respectfully request that the council vote on this tonight with the appropriate conditions, and that respectfully, we can't wait on the Superior Court matter. We don't have the next hearing calendared yet, and so we wouldn't know when that would happen, and this event is scheduled to happen on October 8th.
Any follow-up questions? Councilor Janik?
Mezzanine, is that the restaurant, or is that like the game rooms?
Just the gym side.
Just the gym side?
So that would be the same level as the restaurant, but
But-
on that other
okay.
side. Yeah.
So no track.
Correct. The track would be closed during this event.
Any other follow-up questions for the applicant? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion?
So I have another concern, that while you don't have a court ruling as to where the interpretation of what the use is of this building, we also don't have one from our zoning official as it relates to this particular event. As it relates to this particular corporate entity, the last time it was approved was for a nonprofit organization.
So out of curiosity to legal counsel, in theory, could we grant the approval of the event subject to meeting the requirements of the police and the fire department, as well as a review by the zoning official? Would that satisfy the administrator?
I'm sorry, Mr. Solicitor, I don't mean to interrupt, but is that a condition, is that a requirement in the ordinance for a special event permit to be granted? I'm not aware of that level of review being required. I understand that the zoning question is before the court right now, and the council can approve this with I would expect it to approve it without prejudice, but why would this require zoning officer approval?
They can only approve a use that's allowed in that zone and for this facility.
But this has been approved already in the past. I'm not sure how the operator of the function would change.
They're not bound by that prior decision, especially if it was an error. I'm not saying it was, I'm not saying it was not.
Okay, that just wasn't a part of the approval process last time around, and the town did not have any zoning issues when this event was proposed last.
Well, when it was proposed last, apparently it didn't occur to anyone that it could be a zoning issue. But now that it's come to the forefront, and the council is now aware of potential zoning issues at this facility, they are allowed to inquire.
I have a follow-on question, Mr. Solicitor. The whole purpose of a special event permit, right, that would be something that's outside of the bounds of zoning. Like, for instance, we approve special events for somebody to host a wedding at, their private residence where it's zoned, R80 residential, and they're going to have people parking on the street, so on and so forth. So out of curiosity, I guess as I'm speaking out loud, wouldn't the approval of the special event permit sort of not have an impact on zoning because we're granting an exception to whatever the zoning might be for this one specific event?
I can understand what you're suggesting there, Councilor Edwards, but my position would be that the use still has to be one that's permitted on that property. When you're allowing a wedding at a private residence, that's as an accessory use, right? The community has come to accept weddings at a personal residence to be an accessory use. It's a one-time use as well, I understand that, but it's still an accessory use. I don't know if an indoor car show is an accessory use to what is a permitted indoor recreational facility, sports facility.
Doesn't have time for another meeting in between. This is scheduled for October 8th. The decision doesn't have to be made tonight.
There's a lot of nuance there in the solicitor's opinion that's nowhere in the black letter law of the ordinance. And that's all I can say. We have outdoor car shows that we're also subject to the appeal.
Exactly.
And the zoning board agreed with us and overturned the zoning officer's opinion on that matter, that was a part of the indoor recreation facility use, even though that was not held indoors, as that the Big Green Kids Consignment sale is subject to that same appeal. This is that same type of event happening inside.
I don't know if there's any other questions from the council or comments.
I didn't think this kind of event was part of that appeal.
That's the point, Councilor Janik. It's not included in the
not.
appeal right now, so I don't think there's any decision from the zoning board nor from your
Right.
zoning officer as whether this is permitted accessory use or primary use of the indoor recreational sports facility.
There's no permitted use for any type of special event like this or a wedding or anything like that in town, unless the town built an events facility and specifically carved out an ordinance where you would be allowed by right to have those events. This is a special event permit. So it does not require zoning board of review, or an opinion by the zoning officer to determine whether or not the code would allow it. There's nothing for the zoning officer to refer to.
By that logic, at your residence, Mr. Edwards, you could have an indoor car show.
I fail to see how I could fit a Ferrari in my downstairs, but
But by that logic,
though,
Wouldn't be the first.
by that logic,
Subject to approval of the council.
so the only thing I would say, I will defer to, the council's pleasure, whether it be to continue this to the next meeting or vote on it this evening, subject to specific conditions. But I would say that, the logic that I would follow as I think about a special events permit, I think of something that is not specifically ordained within the zoning ordinance, and I understand that the solicitor said, for instance, weddings have come to be commonplace at personal residences, but how does that extend to things like, a country day at Pardon Gray, the farmer's market? We have numerous of these events. Singing Out Against Hunger is another one, which we have a special event permit for, where parking is generally an issue at places like Evelyn's and Coastal Roasters. So from my personal opinion, subject to the police and the fire department review, I would be in favor of this without prejudice, as we stipulated on the last license, in the event that, the court comes back in a different area, but I will defer to the council's pleasure.
I think we should table it.
I think we should table it until we get the Superior Court decision.
So do we have anything in the form of a motion? I mean, I think given the event is looking at October 8th, I would suggest that perhaps we make a motion to continue this application to the next meeting, which would be, what is that, the 28th of August? So if we continue it to the 28th of August, would that be acceptable to the applicant?
What choices do we have?
If that's the will of the council.
So do we have a motion?
Is that a motion?
I'm not going to make a motion. I'll defer to the rest of the council. My motion would be to approve this event.
I would make a motion that we table this agenda item until August 28th, our next meeting.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
To be clear, that's not table subject to any conditions like a ruling in the court case, correct?
Correct. That was just a motion to table this agenda item to the next council meeting.
Okay.
With any luck, we'll have a decision.
I don't think
We
we
may
will.
not.
It's highly unlikely that the wheels of the court will move that fast.
No, they don't.
28. All right, next item, general business, Assessor Robert, update on 2023 statistical reevaluation and 2023 tax bills and tax rate. Mr. Assessor.
Good evening. I'm going to make this really brief. So we currently are doing a statistical update revaluation, vendor Northeast Revaluation. We have a data collector out in the field. He has reviewed the 2022 sales, and he has begun the process of looking at the current year sales. So he's out doing that, and he's also out doing building permit reviews. So any permit that's been pulled over the last year and a half, he's out taking a look at those, as well as I am. Just a clarification, there's been some misunderstanding. A few weeks ago, the vendor mailed out income and expense questionnaires. Those are questionnaires that we send out to commercial-owned properties. As you know, that a lot of commercial properties are valued based on the income they generate. So what we're looking for is lease information from units being rented. We're not looking for business income. We're looking for rental income, lease income, and expenses that would be associated with renting out those buildings, such as snow removal, utilities, and trash removal. So I just want to make that clarification. We do have updates on our website that explains it a little bit further. And also on the website, there is a listing of dates when I'm out there and when the vendor is out there. So if people are interested in our progress out in the field, they can take a look at our website. Currently, my review is I am driving by every single house in town and every property. We have roughly 8,400 properties. So far, I've been through roughly 5,000. I'm in the town vehicle, which is clearly marked tax assessor. So I've had a few people come up to me and ask me exactly what's going on, and that's why I'm out in the field. I'm doing a revaluation preliminary reviews. Once the vendor has taken a look at the majority of the sales in 2023 and start to build value tables, they are going to turn that over to me late October, and then that's when I'm going to start going out in the field and reviewing sales information and the new proposed assessments. Those proposed assessments will be notified, the owners will be notified early 2024, and I'm guessing at this point it will probably be in March. And just about that time, I'm going to ask the town council to sit down with me and maybe have a workshop to review the revaluation and the data that we've gotten so far. Quickly, when I'm taking a look at the sales and what the market's doing from the last revaluation, there's still strong appreciation of market values. So we're going to be looking at roughly 20 to 25% increases in assessments. The condo and multifamily market is stronger than that, so we might be around 30% on those. And again, that's just preliminary. As we start to roll into those numbers in October, when I'm starting to get some numbers, I'll come back to the town council and let you know exactly where we are at. Does the town council have any questions regarding the revaluation?
Any questions?
I just think there's gonna be a lot of sticker shock.
I think so too.
There will be. There will be. Just like the last revaluation, there was sticker shock. That's what the market's doing. A lot of people, they have comments about, back in the last revaluation, COVID inflated prices and that type of thing, and out-of-state buyers inflated the market. Some of that is true, and roughly right now, according to the realtors, roughly 25% of sales in the state of Rhode Island is from outside buyers, outside of the state. But that is the market. So whether or not there's a COVID bump or such, we just have to reflect what the market's doing. So yeah, there will be some sticker shock, but as I say, revaluations are always revenue neutral. They don't raise taxes, they just shift the burden around, and it doesn't generate any additional taxes. So if the values go up, tax rate goes down.
People still don't understand that.
I know.
I know you say it every year, multiple times a year, but people panic when they hear the value of my home is going up 20 or 25%. They think their taxes are going up 20 or 25%.
Certainly. And one of the things that I'm going to address this year when people are notified, the letters that get generated are pretty generic. So I don't think it emphasizes enough about that issue. So I'm going to sit down with them, and when they do send out those letters, we're going to try to make it a little bit more, clear that not to take the current tax rate. But regardless, people are still going to panic.
You say that every year, and
Yeah.
it's written in there. Don't
Yeah.
multiply this by the current rate, but
Right. Speaking of tax bills, so we're anticipating that tax bills, without any glitches happening, should be mailed out early next week. So people can expect to start receiving them. The first quarterly due date is October 1st, which is different from obviously the past where it's been July 1st. And the new tax rate is $14.90.
Versus the 1497.
Correct.
Right.
So it's lower than what the projected was.
So, and can you also clarify for people, Dave, that we are not double billing the first quarter, that we actually extended the period out by 3 months? They'll 12-month period will start in September? That there's, because I know we've gotten a lot of questions as to, you're going to hit me twice in September, and it's.
Right, because
that's not-
everyone's so used to July 1st, and with the delay to October 1st, people are assuming that then the first and second quarter is going to be due October 1st, and that's just not the case. What's happening is because of the new budget cycle, everything just got shifted 3 months. So the first quarter, which was typically due July 1st, is now October 1st. Fourth quarter, that used to be due April 1st, is now July 1st. So it's just a
And
shift.
it will be that way forever.
Forever, right. So there's no double billing, there's just a regular bill, it's just got shifted just 3 months.
So in plain English, everybody who receives a tax bill got 3 months for free.
To their benefit, if they're making like escrow payments, they're actually putting more money in their escrow than.
Correct.
Right, right. Yeah, they had more time to pay that first quarterly.
Which they always get adjusted.
Yeah.
So it was somewhat confusing, so I did want Dave to address that. And the fact that the rate did drop 7 cents is, it is, it's not a lot of money, but it's a lot when people have a lot of high values, so.
Yeah, and just for reference, I have it here somewhere, just bear with me for a second. Yeah, so last year, we've been using $360,000 as the average home value. So between 21 and 22, the tax rate change was 2.53%. This year, it's 1.86%. So that $360,000 home on average, is going to be paying $5,300 in taxes versus $5,200.
Thank you. That's
Certainly.
helpful. And for anybody watching at home that remembers, basic finance classes, tax rates and property values are just like bonds. As interest rates rise, meaning tax rates rise, then the value goes down and vice versa.
Correct.
So, all right, thank you. Any other questions from the council before we release Assessor Roberts? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good
All
night.
right, next item on the agenda is from Councilor Edwards, is a discussion and possible vote for RFP to hire a land use attorney to assist the planning board and the town council. If you'd like to give us a brief synopsis, Councilor Edwards, that'd be great.
Yeah, just to be clear, this is not a reflection on the abilities or the service that we receive from our current attorneys. This is more about what's coming down the pike and what we have facing us at the current time. We have a lot of applications, we have a lot of activity at the zoning board and at the planning board. We have what the state is doing to us that all kicks in on January 1st, and there's going to be a lot of questions on how to deal with that. We also have the zoning review committee that's going to be going through the entire zoning and recommending and discussing changes, and that's going to require a lot of time on the part of an attorney. I think we've discussed this before, and I think we agreed that it'd probably be beneficial for us to have a land use attorney that did nothing else but that. Having said that, we keep on talking about it, but we don't seem to be doing anything about it. So the purpose of this is to prod the process along, and we either decide to go out and do an RFP, or we decide, no, we're not going to go there. Nothing else other than that.
Thank you. Just in keeping with Robert's rules, thank you for that synopsis. Do we have a motion? Because again, in keeping with Robert's rules, you put a motion on the table first and then discussion. I'm mixing it up.
Okay, so what, a motion to discuss this?
No, a motion on the agenda item, since it's on here for a vote.
Oh. Well, I make the motion then. Is there any other discussion?
Discussion's
I
gonna
make the
happen
motion
after.
then that we go out with, that we do an RFP to find and hire a land use attorney.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Well, I think that
Councilor Janik.
Councilor Edwards is correct. We have a lot coming down the pike. Zoning rewrites and planning board, zoning board, we have a huge usage need for an attorney with land use. And simply starting the wheels in motion, setting an RFP now, we probably won't hire anyone for a number of months because we've do the RFP and we have to set up interviews and all of that. I think it's going to be a few months down the road. The new state legislation starts January, correct? January 1st. So we just want to try to get ahead of the 8 ball here and make sure that we're well represented. No.
It's a shot at you, Todd.
No reflection.
No,
on you
no
guys.
reflection on you at all.
All right, thank you, Councilor Janik. Any other discussion? Councilor Milbourne? Councilor Edwards? I would just add that I agree. I've received a couple calls around this agenda item encouraging us to move forward to hire a specific land use and zoning attorney to support the planning board, given all of the projects that are out there. I'm open to the RFP. What will give me pause as we go through this process is what the actual dollars and cents are going to be. I know we allocated some dollars towards this in the last budget, but it concerns me, if we start blowing the budget out for, attorney spend. So, that's my component, and if there's no other discussion, I'll move to a vote. Any other further discussion?
I have a couple of questions. I'm just a little concerned that we have a firm engaged now to do planning and zoning. So are we looking to add another firm, or are we looking to replace the firm? Because I'm not sure where we're going with this.
I thought the discussions we had were to add.
So And I don't know where that money's gonna come from, because that wasn't budgeted for that. So we did add monies into our planner for their firm is actually doing a lot of the zoning rewrites and a lot of the changes that need to be done as it relates to subdivision regs and those kind of things. That the issue is that I am working on things outside of the council right now to try to stifle excessive growth. And at some point, the council, it's gonna be put before the council, and you're gonna have to take a vote. You're gonna need a lawyer then to represent the council as to what I've been working on outside the council. So I'm just a little baffled as to, I don't think the planning board can have two lawyers that are working for them from different firms. I don't know who would be answerable to. So that's a problem. You know, if the issue is you're looking for different legal services for the planning board and zoning board, it's gonna be awfully awkward to have two firms representing them. So I don't think this has been well thought out. You know, I do agree that there are a lot of issues coming at us. And we are working on a number of different initiatives, either through the planner, Weston and Sampson, through our legal firms, and through the other legal firms that I'm working with. But ultimately, something's gonna come before the council to make a decision to decide where we're gonna go with some of this development stuff. So I think this is somewhat premature at this stage. I just don't think tonight is the night to vote on this, but that's your call. You can do what you want, but I don't understand where we're going. I don't understand how the planning board can have two firms that they're gonna be relying on.
And that's probably a good point.
Is Weston and Sampson, that's Ashley's, that's her group?
Ashley Sweet's firm, and they're doing a lot of work for us right now.
And is there an attorney from that?
No, they don't have an
company?
attorney working. They have a lot of engineers, planners, and they're well geared at trying to get us in the right place to where we need to be as it relates to that. And we also are in the middle of working with Rhode Island Housing to try to get some funding to do some of this new initiatives that the speaker and the legislature had come up with, that these deadlines are coming at us in January.
Right.
We don't need a lawyer to deal with that right now. We need to put policies and procedures in place so that they can effectively work. As it relates to the projects that are coming in, we have lawyers to deal with that at the moment. I think the real issue is if I'm gonna ask the council at some point to stifle growth. Manage growth, or manage it, because we don't have the.
He said manage, not stifle.
Well, to me, it's stifle because it's. Manage. I'll say manage, because I don't think there's enough infrastructure to deal with some of it. And the council's gonna need representation then when you make a decision as to what I'm gonna put in front of you.
And that's
So-
a big concern, and that's kind of where we've been coming from.
I don't care if you wanna go out and get an RFP to go look for a firm to represent the council at some point, but I haven't even put the issue in front of you yet. So I do think it's putting the cart before the horse.
So what you're suggesting is we've got sufficient bandwidth right now with Ashley's firm and with our existing attorneys. And if we need to, we can always inflate that a little bit.
Well, if we have to, but that's just my view at the moment. But, you know, there are a lot of things coming towards Tiverton that we are very cognizant of.
Not just Tiverton, every other community.
Well, it's
in the
mostly
state.
at Tiverton right now because we have the
we have the
available
land.
land where there's sewer and water.
So with the administrator's comments in mind, Councilor Edwards, would you like to advance the motion or withdraw?
I'll withdraw it. We can always bring it up again.
All right, perfect. So any further discussion on this? Hearing none, let's move on to item C. Councilor Edwards' recommendations for appointment on the Zoning Revision Committee for Economic Development Commission, Conservation Commission, and the Zoning Board of Review. Councilor Edwards.
Okay, so we have a zoning revision committee, I am a member of it, and when I was going through it to find out, who was on it, who did we appoint, I discovered very quickly that the EDC, the Conservation Commission, and the Zoning Board of Review had not submitted names to be members. And then when I did some further looking, I found that they had not even discussed the matter, which made me wonder if they were aware that we were looking to them for nominations. So I sent them all an email reminding them and I got a couple of responses. I heard from the zoning board of review, and they said they weren't going to be discussing the matter until September. Based on that, we got a couple of choices. One, we could just appoint the chairpersons of these boards to be members until such time as they got together and appointed somebody else and let us know who they want to be. Or you could give me permission to go ahead and start doing a first meeting with what I got and moving on. We can't be just sitting on our hands, not moving this forward.
So, given the fact that there's really nothing for us to vote on with this item, perhaps we could ask the administrator to reiterate to these boards that we're looking for, members or not, to be appointed.
We're gonna basically let them know until such time they've nominated somebody, the chair is the designee to this committee, until they actually create a designee. That way, if Jay wants to have a meeting before, that designee can then at least brief the new person who's gonna be the designee.
Does that satisfy you, Councilor Edwards?
Yeah, I'm just asking,
Okay.
and part of that is I'm asking for your permission to go ahead and do that.
Okay.
And if you start now, we're already end of August, so by the time you post it and they have their meeting, it's gonna almost be
I had to
close to
convene to
time.
get me on the Secretary of State website again.
All right, so moving on, Councilor Edwards, discussion and possible vote on resolution requesting that any restrictions preventing cities and towns from using licensed animal shelter services outside of Rhode Island's borders be reviewed. All right, so I guess you want me to read the resolution for you?
Do we need to read the whole thing?
Solicitor, should we read the resolution?
It's in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
I mean, nobody at home sees the
Publicly
packet.
available.
but- Okay.
So a synopsis should probably be all right.
All right, if you want to give us a brief synopsis, Councilor Edwards, that'd be great.
All right, so as many people are aware, we had some difficulties with the animal control situation and with the housing for stray animals. One of the impediments we face is that the state and DEM requires us to utilize a state of Rhode Island internal licensed facility, even though we have some almost within walking distance of town. They just happen to be in Massachusetts. So my idea here is to get the legislature and DEM to remove or relax those impediments and allow us to seek facilities outside of our border, outside of the state, as long as they're duly licensed in that other state. We're not the only town that may have this problem. All the border towns may. There's really no reason for this impediment. Any of us in this room can take our animals to another state for vet service, boarding, and then bring them back into Rhode Island without any questions, without any impediments. I don't see why an animal control officer should not be able to do the same thing.
Wonderful. All right, so again, keeping with Robert's rules, do we have a motion on this item?
I make a motion that we forward this resolution to the state legislature, the state legislators, and to DEM, who administers this kind of thing.
All right, so the motion would be to approve the resolution and forward to the relevant state legislators and Rhode Island DEM. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on this item?
No,
Solicitor Romano, have you had a chance to review?
I have not.
Mike Marcello reviewed it.
Mike did. Did Mike have any comments?
Not that I'm aware of.
Perfect. All right.
Other than he went through it and this is
His revisions, perfect. I have one comment on the resolution, so we would need to have the resolution number be 2023-0012?
It would be 2023-0015.
I was off by a couple. And then, should the resolution be signed by the council president?
Perfect. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Councilor Milbourne? Oh, yeah, okay. Any opposed? No? All right. Motion passes. Unanimous. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is mine, Councilor Edwards, the fifth, me. Discussion regarding the annual Courtney Roderick Run for Recovery 5K Run Walk event held on July 22nd, 2023. Since this is a discussion item, we broached the subject at the last meeting. I think I aired some of my issues there. Is the chief of police still present?
I think he might be outside.
He's, of course, the moment I need him. Luckily, our fire chief's in charge. If not, I'm just going to have this kicked to the next agenda.
We did contact the event organizer, but did not receive a response. We did invite him to tonight's meeting.
Yeah, I was under the, I was informed that he reached out privately to Councilor DiMedeiros, but offered no comment, so, absent his presence, my questions were gonna be if there was any feedback from the chief, but he is gone? All right, no worries. All right, so I'm just gonna move past this.
Can we have a little bit of discussion?
We can absolutely have a little bit of discussion. Councilor Edwards.
In my opinion, what we should do in the future, as a matter of policy, is when we have these big events, not your average backyard wedding, we should have an after-action report about how it went. Were there any problems? Were they our problems, the police department's problems, the coordinator's problems? What went right, what went wrong? I don't think they need to be sitting here in front of us. I think this needs to be dealt with by the fire department, DEM, police department, town administrator. And this needs to be done soon after the event while everything's fresh in everybody's mind, rather than what we currently do a year later when the event organizer wants to do it again, and then we're all going, well, there was a problem, but you can't remember what it was. So we end up with a report, and that could be used the next year or the next event for that person to discuss what needs to be done.
Councilor Janik?
So I know that there were issues after this one, but are there issues after a lot of the events? Because are we going to have all of these event organizers go through some kind of like a write-up after if there's no issues?
Well, it could be a questionnaire, and if there were no issues, it'd be a very short discussion.
I would just posit that, again, the reason why this one in particular came up and it jogged my memory from when we approved the event was because the council approved a specific route and a specific plan, which would not have prevented traffic being shut down on both Main and Highland Road, and that's not what happened. So, again, I'm happy to move on. We don't need to belabor the point, but the actual point that I want to make here is that if we as a council approve a special event license for something and then whether it be the organizers or somebody else does something contra to what was approved, at some point in time, we begin to lose legitimacy as a board of licensing for these special events. So if we are just going to approve an event, but somebody's going to do whatever they want, then that's problematic. And that's a precedent that I don't think we want to set. So, given the fact that the chief's not here and the organizer's not here, I guess I'll just try and throw it on the next agenda then, and we can move on.
On the 28th. Have we heard of any other event that has changed the course pathway?
No, but I did hear about this, and I did hear that some of it was related because the officers in charge that day, the police department, didn't quite understand what the plan was. So that they were confused as to where they should go, so they made at the time the best decision they thought, and it was not the right decision, but they took action and directed traffic the way they probably shouldn't have had.
And again, it
is what it is.
I personally, if it was a decision made by the police department, right, and there was a mix-up, that's fine.
But I think.
Just let us know.
No, I think that that's what happened. I don't think the officers in charge that day knew what the plan was that was directed by the council. And they acted accordingly, and they didn't act the way the council did.
Okay.
So it wasn't a malicious, it was an error.
It was not
It was an error.
And I don't think it was the organizer, I think it was just total confusion at that point, because I think the organizer knew something wasn't right, and the police officers that day directed contrary to the way the council asked.
Because he's been doing this for a number of years.
I know, but it's been a little bit different every year, so I think there was some slight confusion. I will get to the bottom of it
Right.
to confirm that's exactly what happened.
Because we asked him to move it at one point,
We
just
did.
to kind of get it away from the beach.
We did.
So,
And that might be something worth revisiting, at least just for all these 5Ks. Let's find somewhere out of
No, I
the
will.
way.
Yep, I agree.
Yep. All right, perfect. So next item would be Administrator Cotta, discussion and possible vote on proposed resolution 2023-0014 regarding the authorization to execute a construction and maintenance agreement for non-quit bridge project.
So I actually had to sign this, send it to DOT, not realizing that there's a sentence in here that requires council resolution. So they sent it back. If they're gonna do the road, they are gonna tear the bridge out, they're gonna put a new bridge in. When it's done, the town is gonna be required to maintain the road like it always has. So that's all this does. It's just a council resolution now that needs to go back to DOT. So we agree that this should be done.
All right, perfect. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
Just so that the public know that the funding for this comes from the Federal Highway Act, and we are responsible to maintain it after, but the actual bridge is by the Federal Highway Act.
We have maintained that road all along. It
Right.
is in such disrepair that the feds, the state and the feds are kicking it in because it has other purposes besides town transportation, so they came up with the money to do this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor? All right, unanimous. Moving on, Administrator Cotta, discussion and possible vote to authorize an application to Rhode Island Housing for a technical assistance grant for water study to authorize the town administrator and solicitor to draft cooperative agreements with the 2 water districts as may be required.
So in order for the planning board to make appropriate decisions, and I'm not criticizing the planning board, believe me, they do an excellent job, everything that they do. They have a very, very difficult job. But the last few major projects that have come through, they've asked for hydrology studies from the water authorities. They don't have them. They get, and basically a one-liner saying, yeah, we can get more. And it's really not what the planning board needs. They need to understand where the infrastructure is and what the critical issues are with it, so that when they want to be able to make an informed decision. The issue is that we don't have the authority to go out and do this on our own. So I am going to need to have both water authorities join in to do this. The money will come from Rhode Island Housing. The state legislature did put money aside to help do all these kind of studies for all this housing initiatives that were put forth. So the studies will be funded using state monies through Rhode Island Housing only. There'll be no, from my understanding, no match. But I think it would behoove both water authorities to work with the town to ensure that we have the right information by which to make informed decisions. I've worked with Ashley. Ashley's been working with the State Water Resources Board to compel both water authorities to come to the table to help get this. So if we need to draft some sort of interagency agreement between us to get this, I'm fine with that as well. I may need our solicitor's office to help do that as well. So it's a two-parter. It's can I go out and apply for the grant? I believe there is no match to it at the moment. And if we need to enter into agreement with both water authorities, that I'm allowed to work with the solicitor to create those agency agreements.
Thank you. So with that being said, do we have a motion to authorize the application of Rhode Island Housing for the technical assistance grant for water study, and to authorize the administrator and solicitor to draft the cooperative agreements with the 2 water districts?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second, with one caveat, that we also be informed if there turn out to be any matching.
Oh, no, I definitely would do that. I'm gonna have to come back to you if there's a match, but the way I understand it right now, there is none.
That would be great.
And for the council's edification as well, application for a grant still has to come back in front of us for receipt, to approve the receipt of the grant. So we do get another bite at the apple. So any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, unanimous. Next item, Administrator Cotta, update on the recycling center.
Okay, we are still on a temporary site. DEM had sent a series of questions back to Power Engineering, who's drafted the plan, has formalized it, has been working with DEM. But there's a consultant side of DEM that has gone back and relooked at it and had a number of questions, so we need to get those answered. Obviously, we're working on it as quick as we can. We had hoped to be breaking ground by now, but I just want to bring up the date as to where we are. We are not going to be breaking ground probably within another month or so. So it is what it is. We're going to be working on a temporary site until we can get the permit from DEM. So it's a freshwater wetlands permit, and that's all it is. So, and there is freshwater wetlands at the east side of that parcel. So. And we need to get that cleared before we can move over.
Perfect. Any questions for the administrator?
Just one, were there wetlands in the previously?
There were, but that was all permitted and ready to go.
Well, and I fully understand that, each one of these applications is standalone, but I just find it incredible that this has taken so long.
It is, but the alternative is if we go back to the old site, the permit's still valid on it, it does carve the middle of that industrial business park in half. Because that lot was picked in the middle of that, and it is not conducive to sell the rest of it. So it is what it is. I think we're almost there. I'm begging for a little bit more time to get this done, but I do think it's a viable site to move forward, so.
Yep. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, next item. Town Clerk, discussion and possible vote to approve funding to advertise proposed amendments to the Tiverton Code of Ordinance. Can I do these as bulk? All right. So item number 1 is Chapter 74, Taxation, to repeal Division 5, Economic Development Real Estate Exemptions. Chapter 74, Taxation, to amend Section 74-90, Visually Impaired Persons relating to the tax credit exemption. And Chapter 58, Article 2, Peddlers and hawkers, to amend Section 58-39, expiration related to license expiration. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This is for the first one, Division 5 of the Chapter 74 taxation. That was eliminated, and Dave can help me out here, was eliminated a few years ago.
Okay.
That was the enterprise zone
Yes,
Correct.
the enterprise zone.
Yep, so it's no longer applicable.
statewide.
Right.
This is part of our cleanup. Also, the next one is Chapter 74. We had, I believe in June, passed changes for the tax exemption for veterans.
Yep.
A whole group of them. This was at the very end after Division 5, so we missed it. So we'd like to change the visually impaired persons tax exemption from $300 to $330.
Correct.
And then the last one is, we're reviewing all of the licensing ordinances, so there'll be more things coming forward. But for the peddlers and hawkers, Section 5839 had an expiration date of May 1st for all these licenses, and we wanted to change that to be consistent with expiring 1 year from date of issue, because it doesn't make any sense. On an annual license, you can just do 1 year from date of issuance. So that's the change for that one, and all I'm requesting is that you approve funding to advertise these changes.
Perfect. Do we have a motion to approve funding to advertise the proposed changes?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, quick discussion on the last item. The underlined word, I think it should be changed to shall be expired or shall expire, whatever makes more sense, but it looks like the wording just looks funky there. So hopefully we can just clean up the language a little bit. Silly typo. Any
Should
other
be shall
discussion?
expire, you're right. Thank you for the correction.
No worries. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now on to announcements. Town Administrator.
Just letting the council know that League of Citizen Towns has their annual training day and dinner. You're more than welcome to attend if you'd like. I just need to know so I can get you registered if you want to attend.
That doesn't fall on a council meeting, does it?
It's a
28.
Thursday.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, collective bargaining update on Teamsters Local 251. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 42465A5, discussion related to the acquisition or lease or purchase of real property for public purposes where the early disclosure would be detrimental to the public interest. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, litigation, Highland Ridge Farm LLC v. Town of Tiverton et al., NC 2023-0260 update. Town Solicitor, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, litigation, Tracy Hayward and Preserve Tiverton v. Town of Tiverton et al., NC 2023-0089 update. Town Solicitor, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, litigation, Twin River Tiverton LLC v. David Robert, Tiverton Tax Assessor, NM 2022-0138, PM 2022-2436 update. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, seconded. Councilor Janik?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, we are now